how to create an animated video title using Shotcut's overlay HTML filter. Part 2, fading and moving things around. In part 1 I showed you how to create this. So we have a large purple box with the title London and a line, and then City of Dreams, which is our subtitle. And here's the code I used. There's the full screen box CSS, the title, subtitle and a line, and here's the HTML with the nested divs. In part 2 of this tutorial I'm going to show you how to start fading things in and moving things around. But before I do this, just bear with me for a minute, because first I want to show you how to use the overlay HTML filter in Shotcut. Shotcut is a free open source video editor, and its overlay HTML filter facility allows you to overlay an HTML file on top of a video clip. Now open Shotcut. Make sure you have the latest version running because it's updated regularly. Now first of all I'm going to apply the HTML file to a color clip. Now go to Open Other, then Color, click Color again, then choose any of the colors here, click OK and OK, and then drag that preview screen down to the timeline. I'll make the tracks shorter. Now go to the Filters tab, click on the plus and select Overlay HTML Filter. Click here and then OK it on the dialog and point to the HTML file that we created in part 1. There it is. The text and the lines will appear. Now if you go to Edit and you go View Source and then you put a hash there and a hash there, save, that will make the purple background and the light blue transparent, and you will see the text and the line showing above the clip with the blue colour showing through. You can also apply it to a video clip rather than a colour clip, like so, and it looks good. But of course it's a static design at the moment. So next we're going to find out how to animate it. Now to do that in Shotcut we're going to use something called WEBVFX. Now the next stage is to head to the internet and type in Ellucian Shotcut. You'll arrive on this page here. Now Ellucian is a person who's devised something called a WEBVFX framework. To use it you have to first of all download this webvfx.js file. JS is short for JavaScript, but you don't need a knowledge of JavaScript to use this framework. All you need to do is to make sure that this JS file is copied to your computer and placed in the same folder as your HTML file. When you've done that, go back to Notepad++ and put in this line of code just underneath the end of body tag. That tells the browser to use the JS file that we just downloaded. Now we're going to start to animate our title. So what we need to do is, after the word title in inverted commas, we need to write in this code here. This can be found on Ellucian's Shotcut site, or you may like to pause the tutorial here and copy that code. We need to do one more thing. After the word body there, we need to put in data control, and at the moment we put in 10:30. I'll explain what that means. First of all, 10:30 means 10 seconds at 30 frames a second. So the animation will last for 10 seconds and it'll be rendered at 30 frames a second. This code here, well, that tells the browser to use the WEBVFX system. Data animate. Now start 0, that's the beginning of the 10 seconds. End 1, that's the end of the 10 seconds. Ease, that's the method of making the animation smooth or linear. Linear tween means linear. More about that later. Now this part of the code is called keyframes. We have 0% opacity 0 and 100% opacity 1. Now let me save that and run it in Chrome. This is what happens. The word London begins to fade in. Now it takes a very long time. In fact, it will take exactly 10 seconds to fade in from opacity 0, which is invisible, to opacity 1, which is fully visible. Now I'll start that one more time. The word London began with it being completely visible, and then it sort of switches off and switches on. Now to rectify that we have to go to the title CSS and write in opacity 0 there. Now that makes it so that if I run it in Chrome the word London will start invisible. Now, what if we wanted to make that word London fade in a bit quicker? Actually, there's three ways of doing this. One, we could change 10 to say 2. Let's run that in Chrome and you will find that the word London will fade in after 2 seconds. Let's try another number. Let's try 0.5. For example, that's half a second. So we should see a very quick fade in of the word London. There it goes, really, really quick. The second way is to put a small number here. So if I put say 0.1, the London text will now fade in 1 second, which is 1/10 of the 10 seconds. A third way of changing the speed is to do this. So I'm going to copy that line with a 0% and paste it below it. And I change this to 10%. Then I change the opacity to 1. So our text London will fade in after 10% of the text, which is 1 second. There we are. Now the beauty of doing it this way is that we can get the word London to fade out again. So let me show you that. I'm going to copy this line here to there and put in 80% and opacity 1, and then on the last line 100% opacity 0. So that will make the word London fade in, and then if we wait for about 8 more seconds, just hang on a second there, the word London should then fade out after 80% to the end. There we are. Good, good, good. So that's the principle of getting things to fade in and out. Now, if I copy all of that and then paste it after the word line 01, and then copy it again to the subtitle, now that should result in all our three elements, the title, the line and the subtitle, all fading in at the beginning at the same time. And if we wait another 8 seconds or so, they should all fade out towards the end. There we are, nice fade out. Okay, now let's say we wanted the title, the subtitle and the line to all fade in and fade out at different times. Now to do this, I'm going to copy this line here and paste it there. Now I'm going to make that 0 because from 0 to 10% I want the subtitle not to be seen, and then I'm going to change that 20%. So between 10 and 20% of the animation, the subtitle is going to fade in. So let's see whether that works or not. Launching Chrome, here it comes. We have London and the City of Dreams fades in later. And I'll just change that to 30%. Also, did you notice that the subtitle now appears right at the beginning, briefly? So to get rid of that, we need to copy opacity 0 from here and paste it to the subtitle CSS. And while we're there, I'm going to do it to the line 01 CSS as well, because I'm now going to make line 01 fade in later. So let's do the same type of thing. I'm going to copy that there. Now I'm going to get the line to come in after say 40%, and then I'm giving it a 10% fade in. So I'm going to change that to 0. It fades into 50% and it will stay visible until 80%, and it will fade out at the end. Let's have a look. Yes, London, then City of Dreams, then the line, there we are, and then the whole lot should fade out at the end. Good. It's really a matter of trial and error, but to me the line came in a bit too late there, so I'm going to change that back to 30 and change that to say 45 for example, and that might give me a better animation. There we are, London, City of Dreams, then the line. Good. I could even start the line slightly earlier actually and stay, let's make that 30 and try that. There we are. London, City of Dreams, line. Good. Now the next stage is for me to try to move the title, the London text, across the screen from left to right. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the top CSS. Notice I haven't put a left attribute for the title, but I've put a width of 100%. Now I'm just going to remind you what that means. Let's change that back to red and preview in Chrome. There's our red box, which is 100% width within the purple box, because remember our div was nested inside the purple box. Now I'm going to move that and position it 200 pixels to the left. So if I put in here left 200 pixels, or beg your pardon, minus 200 pixels, because I want to go to the left, minus 200 pixels. That looks like this. There we are. So the whole box, the red box, has moved to the left by 200 pixels. Next, I'm going to cut that and put it here. And then I'm going to copy that several times. I'm going to make the second one 0, the third one 0, and the fourth one I'm going to put at minus 200 pixels again. So let's preview that. London now moves from left to right, and then after 8 seconds it will begin to go back again. There we are. Now I'm going to make the red background transparent, so I'll put a hash in there which basically forces the browser to go back to the default, which is transparent. In part 1 I just used a hashtag at this point, but now I'm going to add the hashtag to the red, which has the same effect. Now let's say I put in minus 400 pixels there. The text is going to move further. Let's preview that. There we are. It looks a bit stuttery there actually. Now it'll move back again in a moment. There we are. It's going back 400 pixels. Okay, now let's try 1000 pixels. And this time I'm going to put plus 1000 there. So it's going to start on the left. It's going to remain in the middle till 80% of the time, okay, 8 seconds, and then it's going to whoof across to the right for 1000 pixels. Because remember, left means pixels from the left. And then it's going to go whoosh, if we wait a second. Oh, there we go. And it goes across to the right and stops there. So that's great. Now that's the principle of how to move things about. Now, next I'm going to do the same thing for the subtitle, except I'm going to get it to go the opposite way. So if I copy that to there, and then copy that again, importantly you have to have the attribute on every single line of the keyframe, so the left has to be on every line of the animation. So I'm going to make that 1000 pixels to start off with, make that 0, make that 0, no I'm not, I'm going to make that 1000 pixels still, 0, that 0, and that minus 1000 pixels. Now let's just see what happens there. So there's London, City of Dreams, and it moves across. Ah, so far so good. Now if I change that back to red and put a colour in for the subtitle, background I'm going to put, remember I used Dodger Blue, I like that colour. Now I'm doing this just to show you that it's not just the text that's moving, it's the whole background box as well. Now the next thing to show you is that you can combine animations. So let's try and make the text fade in and fade out at the end at the same time as moving. So I'm going to put some of these noughts back in here like I had before. And I'm going to make the red background and the Dodger Blue background transparent by adding the hash signs, and then see how it looks. Ah, can you see the fade in and the movement at the same time? Good. Okay, next I'm going to talk about easing. Easing is the smoothness of movement. At the moment we've got ease linear tween, which gives a linear movement, but if I change that to ease in out sine, it should make a slightly smoother movement. I'll just preview that. There's a very subtle movement difference. Now we're getting closer to being able to import our HTML file into Shotcut. But before we do that, I want to try and create this. Take a look at the line in the middle, and can you see it widens out from the center? Now here's our code for the line so far. Now what I'm going to do, in this line of code, I'm going to write width 0, then copy that, and there, and there, and there. Let me just see what width I had the line earlier. Oh, 500 pixels. So at 20% it goes to 500 pixels. It's going to stay at 500 pixels till 80%, and then it's going to go back to 0 pixels at 100%. So let's save that and preview, and watch the line. The line there widens out from the center, which is a nice effect. I'm just going to highlight just the line by putting a hash sign there to force the browser to make those parts transparent, so only the line will become visible. It's a good way of isolating just the parts you want to see. Actually, I'm just going to put ones there and there to stop the line from fading in as well. And let's preview that and see what it looks like. Good. And here's another thing. If we put the width to 0% instead of 0 pixels, and then this width to say 100%, and this one to 100% as well, and then this one to 0%. Watch what happens now. So we're running Chrome. Let's make it full screen. There we are. Now I'm just going to run that again, and you see what happens. The line will go right across because the line div is nested inside the purple box div. Now if I change that to say 50% and then launch that in Chrome, then the line will end up going only 50% of the purple box. And if I decrease it even more, say to 30%, oh let's say 25%, and put 25 here again, just watch this, the line remains about what we had before. So that demonstrates that you can actually use percentages instead of pixels, which is very useful in some situations. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to add a large green box inside our purple box. I'll explain why a little later, but what I'm going to do is go down to here and I'm going to copy that div to there, and I'm going to call that green hide box. All will be revealed later. Now I'm going to make sure the title, the line and the subtitle are all nested within that green hide box. So I'm going to copy that end of div tag and paste it there. I'll just type in 4 tabs there. Now Notepad++ has a handy feature. If I just highlight that start tag, it turns yellow, and so does the end of the div, so you can easily identify where each div starts and ends. Now I'm going to go up here and put in a green hide box. So I'm going to copy the full screen box, copy that, and just to make it easier visually, I'm going to delete all of these line breaks because HTML doesn't read spaces or the line breaks at all. Now I'm going to copy that and put that there, and then I'm going to put a tab in there. Now these two lines are the same. I need to change that though to green hide box. There we are, green hide box. And I'm going to change the width to 60% of the full screen box. Okay, so that results in, if I could just run that in Chrome, so we have the green box centered inside the purple box. It's the same height, but it is 60% of the width. Also notice that the text and the line are nested inside that green box. Okay, why am I doing that? Well, let me just change the title back to red and the background of the subtitle back to Dodge blue. There we are. And watch what happens here. Now what I'm going to do is put in a little bit of code here, which is overflow hidden. Now let's preview that. Now can you see that anything outside the green box doesn't show? Now let me just change the distance of the text boxes. Let me put not 1000, let's put 1200 pixels and change these lines accordingly. And let's see that. Yes, you can see that the text goes invisible when it reaches the side of the green box. So if we now make the red transparent and also the Dodge blue, and also get rid of the green, make that invisible, the result is this. And there we are, London, City of Dreams. I'll just show you that again. So the text disappears before it reaches the edge of the screen. Now, I'm just on the verge of showing you how to put this into Shotcut and overlay it on top of an existing video clip. I'm going to just do one more thing. I'm just going to make the exit of the text a little bit quicker. So I'm going to put 90% there and 90% there, which will make the text move a little later, but it will move a lot faster. In fact, it will whiz over in the last 10% of the animation. There we are. There it goes. Nearly there. I'm just going to put a text shadow onto the text. So I'm going to add this code, text shadow. Now 3 pixels, space, 3 pixels, space, black, semicolon. Now this gives you a black shadow behind the text, and it will be 3 pixels to the right and 3 pixels below the white text. And the word London will now have a 3 pixels shadow behind it. And the City of Dreams hasn't. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the subtitle and give that a text shadow as well. Copy that to there and let's see if it looks okay. There we are, text shadow applied. Now we're finally ready to apply this animated title to an existing clip in Shotcut. Now I've made up a folder with some files in it. Now there's a video I've found of London, so I'm going to click open there. We have some nice footage there of London. So let me drag that into the timeline, make the track shorter. Let me split that there, and then I'm going to split the same clip 10 seconds further on. Now just a technical point here. If you remember on my HTML file, I put a line of code saying data control 1030, which means the animation should be 10 seconds long at 30 frames a second. Now Shotcut doesn't actually read that information, so the only way of telling Shotcut that your animation should be 10 seconds is to make the clip for 10 seconds long. So always make the clip exactly the same length as the data control figure on your HTML file. Go to the Filters tab, click on the plus sign and apply the overlay HTML filter to that part of the clip. Now because I used WEBVFX, I'm going to click there and OK that. And then I'm going to open my HTML file that I prepared. There it goes. But of course the background is purple. Now to fix that, we go here to edit and then down to this view source tab, and then we put a hash after light blue and also purple, and then press save, and then the purple will disappear and there is our title. And that's how it works. And all we need to do is to export the file as an MP4 and we're done. So thanks for tuning into part 2. Now in part 3 I'm going to show you how you can get a little bit more advanced, and we're going to talk about some more complicated techniques. I'll leave you with a short video clip of some London shots to which I've applied my London City of Dreams title 3 times. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.